All right, I'm gonna give it a couple more minutes just for people to show up. All right, I'm gonna call this meeting to order at 7:31 p.m. Let's do a roll call. Senator Hendricks.
I'm here. I also filled in the attendance.
All right. Taylor Nguyen, not here. Morganville is resigned. Damon Grimm, leave of absence, I assume. Luke Manna, Jack McDermott,
Here.
Senator Aurora,
Here.
Senator Schneider,
Here.
Senator Foxworth,
Here.
and then me. Cool. We have quorum. Is there any public comment? All right, seeing none, I'd like to just do a little announcement about stipend review. Last week I sent around a form to a lot of the executive, judicial, and legislative officers for them to kind of fill out. That just had some basic information about kind of stipends, including questions, just basically like what should we take into consideration, the nature of the work that they do, because stipends can only be for people that are doing university functions. So I'm gonna give them some more time with that. I'll probably have something a little bit more solid going forward next ONA meeting. Just kind of starting those conversations, and
So are we going to get to see this form? We didn't discuss this.
it's in the drive. It's in the ONA drive.
Okay.
Yeah. Currently has 8 responses. I sent it to slightly more than that, so I'll send reminder emails probably at the end of the week to just people that haven't responded yet. All right, moving on. We do have legislation tonight. Does everybody have a copy of the agenda that wants one?
Wait, is that all we're discussing for stipend review? We're not like setting a schedule or anything?
Yeah, I'll have more of that either next Tuesday during the Senate meeting or the next ONA meeting.
Okay, we really need to discuss that because it's not just like a make a decision type thing. I know you've never done stipend review before, but like we have to like discuss what we're covering and then sign up for slots and like meet with these people. This
Yeah,
like we need to have like an actual conversation about it. As opposed to just like, hey, we're gonna do it this day. Like we need to know like sooner rather than later.
I'll probably send around a email about that next week. So now to legislation, USR 105060, resolution to applaud the university's move to expand financial aid, which was introduced by Senator Forbes back in, was it July, August, somewhere around there? As he is not here to speak on this,
I move to table this bill indefinitely.
is there a
Second.
Without objection? Next is USR 105131, which is a resolution on the ascension of Frederick, Crown Prince of Denmark. This is, I think that the way European monarchies are run, it's a very much a figurehead position, and it's very good for diplomacy. And I think that kind of us keeping an eye on these kind of things and sending a letter to the new King of Denmark will kind of help promote UNC and help promote our collaborations with universities in Denmark. The main target of this is the Danish embassy. And since it's after the 14th, so he's now king, section 2 would be invoked, which would basically just have Andrew, because I think he's the one that usually sends the letters. Have Andrew or the Senate staff that write that, like, format the letter and actually send it in, change all titles to king. But otherwise, I think it's pretty straightforward. Are there any questions on this?
Can I ask why we're doing this? Like what about this is like more appropriate than other things the Senate can do? Because in my opinion, so a bill like this just makes us look like dumbasses, honestly. And I don't mean that like in a rude way. I just like from an outside perspective, like people don't think we do anything as is, and like something like this is our first bill out of O&A for the whole semester. Like
I mean,
in my opinion, I don't see the relevance of this, especially since it's been like 2 weeks.
well, again, I did want to pass it last week, but we did run out of time that meeting. I think it is important to kind of show that we are interested in kind of reaching out, showing the UNC Global Center that that student government is interested in these kind of relations, especially with, you know, universities like University of Copenhagen, things like that. That I see really no reason why we shouldn't do anything like this. It doesn't waste the Senate's time to do resolutions like this while also putting forth other resolutions and bills. And this is, in fact, one of 3 that I have kind of on this agenda. All right, are there any motions on this? I move to report this favorably without objection. All right. Next is USR 105-132, a resolution to encourage UNC dining to have late night during Ramadan. As I am also the sponsor of this, I will speak for it. This is an issue I noticed last year, when Ramadan was later in the year. I believe it's March this year. That there's no late night option on weekends during Ramadan or during any other religious fast days. And I know, at least in Judaism, there are some fast days can end very late, like 8-9 o'clock. That would basically mean that students observing those fast days that rely on the dining hall for food access would not be able to eat, or would have to go find their own food, which some people can't do financially if they rely on financial aid. And it's also kind of a big priority of UNC dining to have nutritious food and to allow for religious things. They already do a good job on Ramadan of having halal food, and they do a good job on things like the Jewish holiday of Passover of having matzah in the dining halls. I don't believe that it's asking that much of UNC dining. It's really just to kind of start the conversation about this stuff. Yeah, are there any questions?
Yeah, sorry, I just like have never used the dining halls before, so I'm just curious, do they have late night options? Have they had those options before, or would this be like the first time that they offer this?
So there's late night Sunday through Thursday night. It's just Friday and Saturday that they only have dinner, and they only have dinner at Chase. But like tonight, for example, the dining hall is open to midnight. And in the letter, it does say like kind of a modified option if they just like kind of only have takeout. It's still kind of having something then.
Oh, okay, I see what you mean. Okay, thank you.
Again, I don't think the additional staffing of running, for example, to go food on Friday and Saturday night is that much of an ask, to kind of help people that are observing religious fasts. I know how tough it can be. So yeah. Are there any motions on this one?
Motion to report favorably.
Without objection? All right. The next is a resolution to encourage the chancellor to accommodate hidden disabilities. So as some of you guys know, my mother is deaf, and I know in a lot of classroom situations, especially big lecture halls, she would not be able to hear properly. So I think with the new chancellor, we should kind of remind him that hidden disabilities exist as well as physical disabilities, because a lot of accessibility policy that people talk about are kind of the big things, wheelchair ramps, things like that, that people with chronic illnesses or hearing disabilities and learning disabilities, things like that, are oftentimes kind of forgotten about, or at least not remembered as much. So yeah, I feel like this is also pretty straightforward. Again, just really starting the conversation. It doesn't have any like specific policy demands of administration, just kind of pointing out that the student body would like this to be a priority.
I have a couple questions. So is this about physical disabilities or specifically like blind, deaf, like situation? Like what disabilities are you trying to hit with this?
Yeah, paragraph 2 of the letter kind of goes into that. Hidden disabilities such as learning disabilities, hearing impairments, visual impairments, health conditions, and chronic illnesses.
Correct. So, okay, so what does ARS provide already that is not covered that you'd like it to be?
I know chronic illnesses is a big one where students that basically can't, like, need to take medication during class, oftentimes the professors aren't made aware of don't have the training needed to handle students with various chronic illnesses. Also things that make attending class hard. And again, as well as just a more general kind of focus towards accommodating those things.
Right. I'm having a bit of issue because I really care about the Crips on campus people and I'm like a huge supporter of them. I'm having issues seeing what you're requesting from the chancellor because like you said, this is like not requesting any policy reform, but I don't see anything that you're saying like that isn't already provided by our ARS services. And as someone who does have chronic conditions and does receive ARS accommodations, along with a lot of my friends, I have been accommodated in several ways for chronic diseases, and all my professors are aware of it. That's why I'm kind of asking like what is missing, because I feel like this resolution right now is missing something because there's no real call to action. I think our ARS services are pretty robust, and that's why I'm asking like what specifically is missing.
Well, what do you think is missing?
I don't think anything's missing from hidden disabilities that I am aware of currently. I think physical disabilities, however, are drastically underrepresented on campus, seeing as most of our classrooms are not handicap accessible and that our campus itself is just paying fines as opposed to becoming handicap accessible. And that's more physical disabilities than hidden disabilities. That's why I'm very passionate about this, because I care a lot about what the Crips on campus people do, and they have a lot of action. And I would hate to lump in just all disabilities and take away something from them if we don't have like a true call to action.
I mean, I don't think saying that we want to advocate for one group of students takes away from the advocacy of a different group of students, and tide lifts all ships kind of thing. I will say though, in my experience and my friend's experience though, a lot of things are not handled well in terms of learning disabilities. I have some friends with some pretty bad learning disabilities that don't get accommodations.
Is that an issue with ARS not providing accommodations or ARS not being able to accommodate people?
A mixture of both, from what I can understand.
So is this a call to action to improve ARS?
It's a call to action just to generally include students with hidden disabilities, in kind of reiterate our support for students with hidden disabilities.
But I think this is an opportunity right here where if you have specific issues that you could advocate for, I think we should. That's why I'm asking, like, what specifically do you know we are missing that because I think ARS should be included in this as well. I think they should be provided as one of the people receiving this letter from us saying, hey, you need to do better.
ARS is.
All right, got it. So what are some things we should actively be asking from them?
Again, I think this is just to start the conversation, and then build up those personal relationships through following up on this resolution.
I think you have a lot of lofty goals for a resolution that tend to not pan out. And as someone who has like seen this happen before, they tend to not reach back out. They tend to just kind of go with what the resolution is. And if there's no call to action, they just kind of let it pass.
I mean, I have already talked to the new chancellor about kind of the status of hidden disabilities on this. I've already kind of had those conversations.
And what was his response? Like, what did you have a conversation with him about? That's all I'm asking. Like, I support identifying disabilities and improving that for students, but I want it to be that we're actively advocating for things that students need, not just like being like, look at us, hey, we really care about disabilities. Like, I want us to advocate for disabilities. That's why I'm asking, like, what specifically are we missing?
Again, awareness among students as well, for how to handle friends with disabilities, as well as, again, like things like the triple I class, in which you have, big lecture halls, that are mandatory. I know some students that have not been able to get the seating that they need there, kind of things like that, or cannot focus in kind of large classrooms, and specifically pick their classes to accommodate their disabilities around kind of very loud, large classrooms. That the triple I class, you're kind of forced to be in, what's it, genome? It's usually the big room in genome that those are in. Yeah. So things like that.
Personally, I just think your resolution is missing any form of like call to action. And in my opinion, it just seems it feels like it has a lot of holes in it. And it's almost just kind of like hey, look, the Senate cares about disabilities, but we're not actually asking for anything.
Again, the point of this is not to ask for anything. It's, again, it's to kind of start the conversation about that.
But you titled this bill resolution to encourage the chancellor to accommodate hidden disabilities, but you're not asking for any accommodations. You're just saying, hey, these exist.
I guess if I can speak, I guess we can talk about it with the chancellor and then come up with solutions. And one thing I can think of is having some seats in the front of the rooms, the big lecture halls, kind of like how we have reserved seating in the Stone and Leaf. We could do that. And I think it's also important to include more people in this conversation and then come up with like solutions to it.
I can completely agree with that. I think it's really important to focus on the solutions as opposed to just the matter at hand, which is why I think it'd be best if we were to advocate for solutions for these issues. I'm unaware of what the issues are, and that's something that like I'm really passionate about. I want to know, where are we leaving students behind and what should we be advocating for? I think we should be having conversations with those students about, hey, what are you missing and what can we do for you? I think that this kind of bigger than just us. This is more about our students, and especially ones that have disabilities that are not accommodated by ARS.
If I can, sorry, do you want to go first?
No, you go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say, just something I've noticed on campus, I mean, I don't have any close friends with disabilities, physical disabilities, but I know that it's just been mainly an issue with residence halls and dormitories where typically underclassmen live. And I think we all heard about that story about that woman who couldn't leave her dorm because the elevator was broken and there was no wheelchair access besides that. So I propose maybe a survey of somehow we can come up with. I'm do a little bit of research and I can whip up something myself with the voice of others, of course, but I think it'd be a good idea maybe if we just do a little more research with this and then make a call to action.
I completely agree with that, Jocelyn. And that's such a good point because I met with the one of our directors of the Residence Hall Association. And I got to learn so much about like what the impact is of that incident specifically where she got stuck in her dorm. And I think stuff like that would be wonderful for us to include. And I don't think we should just send a letter to get a conversation started. I think we should do a call to action, in my opinion.
Another thing some students have mentioned to me is lack of medication during the shortages at campus health, which has really impacted a lot of students with things like ADHD or ADD that rely on medication to be able to focus in class. So again, that's another.
I know with that was a major, just like national shortage. Because my brother he's ADHD, and so they were dealing with that where they couldn't get the type of prescription they needed, in our home pharmacy in Charlotte. So that's something that point. I don't know if that's something that would be beneficial to include. I don't know if that's something the school can do better at, or if it's more, it would undermine some of the other points that we have that they could really take action with.
Max, my reason for having issues with this is not because I think it's a moot point. It's because I want us to do more with it. And that's why I'm being so passionate about this. I'd rather us do like Jocelyn said, where we sent out like a survey and got more people's voices in this, and we're actively able to say, this is what we need on campus. And I love to hear that you talk to your friends and you know what issues they have, because I have a lot of friends in similar boats, but they've all been accommodated. So I'm missing as well of what's missing on campus. So I think it almost would be better is if we could come back to this after taking some time to be like, hey, what do you guys need? And going from there. In my opinion, I don't think it's worth just like throwing a piece of paper out there to say, hey, pay attention to these, instead of just actually asking for action. Because right now we have nothing to hold them accountable with.
Sure. I do not agree that a survey is necessarily the best way forward. Gathering information on people with disabilities, although it would be self-reported, I don't think is necessarily the kind of smartest way to get good responses for that. So I'd like to hear what other ideas exist.
If you don't like that idea, what idea would you propose? What is better in your mind than a survey?
Again, just kind of talking to people that we know already identify as people with disabilities. A survey sent to the student body from ONA is just not going to get responded to. It's just going to be another kind of mass email that I get like 10 a day of, and I read maybe like 1 or 2 of those.
Can I add a point that I was thinking? I didn't think it had to specifically come from us. Like we could work with the I don't know the specific name, like the department that deals with the ADA accommodation department, I guess, and see if they could work in collaboration with us and create it, because I believe they have a listserv of everyone who identifies as disabled already. So that could already have our target point of like who we want to survey. But that's just an idea. Like I didn't think it had to come from us, but I'm open to hear if there are any other better solutions.
I think that's great as well, because they do have a listserv for ARS, and I know because I'm on it. And I think that would help hit our target population, as opposed to singling out certain people, being like, hey, I know you have disability, talk to me about it. I think it should be people's choice to talk to us about it, as opposed to like singling them out. But I think it's a great idea to like maybe work with them. My other suggestion would also to be working with not the external appointments. The executive board has a cabinet that is student safety and wellness. I think it'd be wonderful to talk with them as well, because they sit on various boards that deal with ARS, CAPS, and all that kind of stuff to help handle that kind of disability realm on campus.
Yeah, I think that's a great project. If you want to kind of take the lead on that, I think that'd be great. You clearly very much care about this issue. Yeah.
Yeah, I would absolutely take that as a project. Disabilities on campus has been a project for me for a long time. But in my humble opinion, I do not think this resolution is warranted currently without a call to action and possibly more information about what the school is lacking. Even if it was just a report of, hey, this is what we've heard from students. Like I prefer that, as opposed to just saying, hey, you need to pay attention to these kind of disabilities.
Is there a motion on this resolution?
Well, before we make a motion, like what would you be comfortable with? Like what would you like? I don't want to like stomp on your dreams, but like what would you feel more comfortable with? Us postponing this or pulling the bill until we got more time for information? Like which would be better? I don't want to shoot it down just to shoot it down.
Depends on how the committee feels.
I'd be fine with postponing it.
Yes, I would like to postpone.
Is there a motion on this resolution?
Well, Max, I'm asking, do you want us to postpone it to the next meeting, or do you want to pull the bill and come back after we've had time? So that way, just in case 2 weeks from now, we're still sitting on our survey and we don't have all of our data, we don't have to keep pushing it back.
We can postpone it, and I'd like to postpone it until next meeting. In fact, I move to postpone this till next meeting. Without objection.
I agree with that.
All right. We're on, that finishes legislation. Now we're on discussion, committee ideas, discuss committee agenda for this semester. Just kind of personal projects and things like that. If anybody wants the floor first.
Well, I think obviously now we should put special focus on disability research and hearing from our student body. Max, I know you talked pretty heavily about you wished to update our anonymous suggestion box. But now I'm hearing from you that you don't think a survey from the O&A committee is helpful in any capacity and that people will not seek it out. So I'm more interested in hearing, like, what do you think would be best for us to reach out to students to get their input?
Well, those are two different issues. Publicizing the complaint box more and a survey are different, because one of them is people volunteering information to us, knowing that we're a resource that exists on campus, and the other one is kind of sending something out again as a mass email. And I believe that's a very important difference.
I think my point from that was that you had a lot of promises for what you wanted to do as O&A chair. I'm interested to hear what your plans are to keep those promises.
Yeah, I'm meeting with I'm gonna meet with the webmaster soon to kind of figure out a better way and a better access for that complaint box on the website that doesn't require going to 4 different web pages to get to it, as well as kind of things like that. But this agenda item is really to discuss goals of the members of this committee, not the chair.
I'd like to add that you are a member of this committee and you had several goals previously stated. That's why I'm very interested in what you, as our leader, are looking to accomplish.
I'd like to hear from the rest of the committee what their personal goals are.
So I just wanted a little disclaimer. I'm like, I'm kind of a rookie here. Like, I'm new to the Senate, so I really don't know like what to expect, or I haven't set any, I guess, specific goals, but my main like goal is just to learn as much as I can right now for being my first committee I'm serving on.
Yeah, well, welcome to O&A.
Jocelyn, to give you some information, we tend to all pick a project throughout the semester and kind of make that our project. And our goal is to kind of come to these meetings and brainstorm, like, how can we help each other and how can we forward each other's projects? So in the past, I picked projects like disability awareness, but also like sexual health on campus and like putting condoms in the residence halls. So like, if you'd like, you could try to like brainstorm an idea of like what you might like to focus on, and then like we could try to help you work on that. I know in the past Jack has talked about intramural sports on campus and how there's a lack of funding, so we don't get to have enough teams and people can't really play the sports they want to.
Oh, okay, great. I'll definitely think about that and come back next meeting with more ideas.
Lydia, I hate to put you on the spot, but I would absolutely love to hear what you're interested in us accomplishing, because back at the beginning of last semester, you sent us an email talking about things you wanted us to accomplish in the O&A committee, and I don't really think we ever followed back up on that as much. And if we're talking about our agenda for the next semester, I'd love to hear if you still have any ideas for things you'd like us to work on.
Yeah, of course. Okay, so I'm gonna pull up that message or like what I wrote, but one thing that I thought was be potentially helpful in at my high school, student government had a Canvas page. Like there was like a little like Canvas section that was like completely dedicated to student government. And I don't know like the implications of that and how difficult that would be, but I think it would be really great if we could just have like something on Canvas that like all students can see. And we don't really have to be like active on that, but like that can have links to different things. Um, and kind of like keep the students updated on a platform that they use frequently. So potentially that could be something that we look at. Another thing that I'm really interested in is like how the campus can be more environmentally like conscious and friendly. And there's like a local North Carolina company that makes like solar like they're like benches or like picnic tables for outdoors, and you can charge outside. And I know we have a few of them on campus, but I think it would be great if we could add more, because I know people are always looking for outdoor seating, and if it also has like solar powered charging, that would be a great addition, I think, to the campus. And I think students would use those. And I have a whole other list of ideas that I can send around to everybody, but those are just like two to get started.
Yeah, no, that sounds good. I'd like to recommend that you get in contact with there's a climate change student government committee. I think talking to a lot of the members on there, at least for that last idea, would be pretty good way to get started on that.
To
Um,
piggyback off that, Lydia, I'd love it if we could get in contact with the RSPC external appointments and kind of hear their report.
Senator Hendricks, please do not interrupt me while I'm talking. Thank you. So yeah, like I was saying, I think that's kind of the direction that we should go with that if you want to work it within. Oh, and again, talking to the Senate's webmaster about kind of Canvas, I think is another good idea. And I'd love to hear from you on the other ideas that you have. Senator Warren, you are recognized. You have the floor.
Hi. One thing I wanted to bring attention to was that I wanted there to be more placement test options and more credit transfer options. I'm an international student, and so the university didn't recognize my board, CBSE, and I'm sure like a lot of international students who didn't go to international school and couldn't afford to, their boards weren't recognized as well, and so I had to transfer in with 0 credits. And also actually someone I know here who went to high school in Vermont, her credits weren't recognized, and I understand if they cannot accommodate everyone, but I feel like there should be a platform or like someone to talk to, and they can see what the equivalent is. And if they still don't think that the credit should be allowed, there should be placement tests for way more classes than there are. I know that all the calculus classes have placement tests, but discrete math didn't, and I could have placed out of it. And a lot of classes I took, I could have placed out of it, but I had to take them anyway, and or I had to take them at community college. And even if someone like self-taught themselves something, I feel like they should have a chance to place out of it, considering they don't give credits for placing out. So there shouldn't be a problem with it. And I don't really know who the department would be to connect with for this. But that was one thing I was thinking it would be good to have at UNC, because I know other universities do have it. And like Georgia Tech, you submit a form and then they look at your high school transcript if it wasn't APs at IB, and they give you credit for it. Thank you.
Yeah, that's definitely, I think admissions is definitely the best kind of people to talk to. It's great that you have examples of other universities that have similar policies. I know when I've talked to administration, almost the first question I get asked is what other university has a policy like this? Yeah, does anybody else want to speak?
Yeah, I know this was mentioned a little bit earlier. But I've had some, kind of personal experiences with intramural sports and, there being lack of resources and leading to, not as many people getting to play or have spots to play as they'd like. And, so some kids missing registration or, only fielding 5 or 6 teams for a given sport, for a student body of like 20,000 kids. And so that's kind of been what I've been looking into, about how to expand that and kind of provide more intramural opportunities for a school of our size.
Are intramurals run through like campus rec? 'Cause I know club sports are usually independent.
Yeah, club sports are independent. Can't it does go through campus rec, and then so part of that they get student fees. So I think it would be under our purview, a little bit. And there's like a campus rec advisory board and stuff like that. So
Yeah, that definitely sounds like something that would be under our purview. Does anybody else? All right, so none. Notices and announcements, Senate meeting, 7:30 next week, per usual. I'll keep you guys in the loop about kind of stipend review stuff, as well as kind of starting those conversations around disabilities. Is there a motion to adjourn?
Wait, can we talk about real quick what you mean by keeping us in the loop about the disabilities talk? Like what are you reaching out about?
I was gonna reach out to you, like you and Jocelyn about
Okay,
research, the stuff we talked about this meeting.
got it. I'm very big about actionable items, and I was just like, I want us to all have like an actionable thing before the next meeting. That's why I was wondering, because I just messaged Jocelyn. I was like, I'd love to work with you.
Yeah, no, definitely. And I want to work with you too on that as well. That's some good points.
I'd also like to add Sanvi, if you're interested in any kind of credit placement tests like that, you should reach out to the registrar's office because they'll be the ones in charge of like actively giving credits towards people.
Okay, I'll definitely do that. Thank you so much.
All right. If there's nothing else, I move to adjourn.
second.
Okay.
Without objection. Have a good night, y'all.
All right, see you guys.
Jocelyn, did you want to talk about anything?
Hey, yeah, sorry. 1 second.